What's going on, guys? My name's Kev, and I've been in the AI world for about 3 years now, but what you're gonna see in this video is by far the most powerful AI agent that I've ever built. I'm using it for myself, for my clients, and I'm giving it fully away to my academy, Kev's No Code Academy, linked down below. This one AI agent is so powerful that I genuinely believe you can sell it for over $10,000 per client. And in this video, you're gonna understand how it flows into an MCP server and how we can have it communicate with our clients on our behalf so that all the client literally does is see these unbelievable results. And what this agent does, guys, is an autonomous LinkedIn AI agent that literally scrapes leads, finds your ideal clients, and sends 25 personalized connection requests daily. Where it gets even better is that this agent can be spread across multiple phantom accounts, meaning your personal LinkedIn plus another 10 employee LinkedIn accounts can be doing this entire workflow, generating thousands of leads every single day with your exact ideal client. On top of that, it creates a personalized message by scraping their occupation, their bio, and any other relevant information that we can use. And the second point here you guys are going to see right now is that this agent is built in a way so that your client literally doesn't have to do a single thing and they will still get incredible results. So before I show you guys the tools and actually get into this breakdown, the first thing I want to let you know is that everything in this video is going to be given away. From the automations to the actual code base to the Google Docs breakdown so you can do this step by step. This agent is absolutely mind-blowing and it is an honor that I'm able to show this to you guys. So before that, I want to just show you a quick example. And so we're going to go into Lynn's Bakery AI that has autonomous AI agents integrated for a deli in my hometown. We have 5 agents that are fully integrated. We have the LinkedIn outreach agent, which we're going to build today. We also have a security guard agent that uses a real-time camera to track the foot traffic of this store. We have a phone agent that picks up calls 24/7 and places the orders and tracks the analytics. We have Sam, who does the same thing as Ashley, but on Instagram. And we have Ella, who does the email marketing for Lynn's Bakery. Now, all of this together is a full stack AI agent employee team that literally builds businesses. And so what I'm showing you guys is the beginning of an incredibly powerful video series that shows you guys not just how to build AI agents, but how to build specialized AI agents for literally any business model. So now that you guys have an idea of how this looks, let me show you a real example that I'm personally using in my day-to-day life before we actually build it out together. Obviously, you guys are going to learn all of this in today's video, but I just wanted to show you. So the lead scraping agent generated 5,000 LinkedIn leads for our connection and message agent. And so when we open up this message, we can see that it's running autonomously already, and it's going to do its next act in the next 6 hours, and we're not doing anything. We can see as well in the queue that all of these invitations have not been sent and they're ready to be fired off next. We can see that a bunch have already been invited and we're already getting some accepted requests. Now, all of this information is what your agent on Replit is going to also be able to track. And so by the end of this video, you're going to see something similar to the Ashley dashboard that you're going to have access to and sell to. Now, the last thing I want to say before we build, why is this going to be so powerful for your clients? And then I'm going to talk about the use case that we're going to build out for my own personal brand. So first, talking about why it's useful, right? Sending personalized messages is one thing, connecting with them is another thing, but being able to just funnel through this workflow autonomously is just a whole nother level, because you're going to be able to really identify who your exact ideal lead is based on the KPIs, meaning based on the connection requests to connections accepted and the messages to booked calls. It'll help you understand A, how to make your copywriting better, B, who to actually send your offers to for your business. So now that you guys fully understand how this 24/7 LinkedIn AI agent works, let's break down the tools and everything that you may have questions about before the build begins. So the scraping agent is going to be done on Phantom Buster's API. Now, before we talk about the connection agent, let's talk about the scraping agent and what it does, right? So this can run 24/7, but the bottleneck of this AI agent is the amount of connection requests that you can send every day, because LinkedIn's algorithm will flag your account if you send more than like 30 connection requests every single day. And so per account, you're now limited with that bottleneck. And so we scraped in advance 5,000 leads using the scraping agent. Now you guys are going to see how that works, but since we now have the 5,000 leads, 5,000 divided by 30 is like 100 days worth of outreaches to be done, meaning that we don't actually have to automate the scraping agent. We just have to run it once and feed it to the connection agent. Now, once the connection agent has its information, we're going to then run that API. It'll just run autonomously like I showed you guys in my example. And once that's running though, we can then start building our GET request for our operator agent on Replit. Now, this operator agent is able to see the KPIs of all of the AI agents in any employee stack. And since this is the first employee, the KPI that we're going to be looking for is the performance that we were talking about, which is the connections sent every day versus the connections accepted and all of that fun stuff. How are we going to store this? Well, we're going to store this in the Neon SQL database that is built into the Replit ecosystem. And the other crazy thing about the Neon SQL database is that it has an MCP server built in. And when we expand on this video series, you're going to see how we go from 1 AI agent employee to 10 AI agent employees for any business. And that is conducted on this MCP server using our operator agent. And so to conclude, before we start building, guys, you're going to get the entire code base to this project. And the value is that you can scale this horizontally. You can generate leads for your clients that see results immediately. So it's one of those offers that you can give to your clients up front. And then once their minds are absolutely blown, you can get into a whole suite of more agents and tools to help their businesses grow. So like and subscribe, join the Academy if you want all of this for free. But if you just want to build right now, let's get into it. So guys, today's client is going to be me. And I would like to find high quality leads that are potentially business owners that are on LinkedIn that are looking to get into no code. So now that we know who this agent needs to reach out to, we can get started with that first tool, which is that LinkedIn Outreach Phantom Buster. Now, Phantom Buster is an extremely powerful API because it's connected through your web browser's extension. And this is how these APIs are able to act on behalf of you. If not, LinkedIn would have flagged your account and then you would have been banned. But since it uses this cookie, it's able to get around it in a very smart way. And so here we are in step 1. Let's imagine now we're starting this scraping from scratch. We would go into the browse phantoms and we would look for the agent that can do the scraping that we are looking for. Once we find that, we can start working on it by going into the setup. And this is why I recommend this part being done manually, so you guarantee that you're feeding your clients with high quality leads. And so if I were to think about my academy, for example, I can put in the URLs, competitors to my academy. So all the other people that are running AI automation schools or AI agent schools, I can then scrape their engagements and reach out to their followers. And that's one way that I can do that. But I can also do it on a LinkedIn company page. Let's say a company like make.com posts a lot on LinkedIn and I'm posting a tutorial that includes make.com's tool. Well, chances are their followers are going to be very interested in this tutorial as well. And so you can bounce around with all of these different concepts. Like the LinkedIn post search could be a literal search term like AI automations or AI agents or autonomous agents or whatever. And then before you know it, you're going to be able to just run this and generate an absolute gross amount of leads. So let's move on to the next step. And assuming you added whatever account, whatever URL you wanted to scrape, you would then add in your LinkedIn account. Now, I do recommend getting a LinkedIn premium account, but it's not going to restrict you if you have the free account. And last but not least, guys, you go into the behavior. And for this agent, it's scraping commenters and likers on the URLs that we gave it, not just the followers, so that we're making sure that the people that we're scraping from are high engaged users on these competitor accounts. And so once that's done, guys, you can literally just click save and head back. Now, once you run this agent, it's literally just going to scrape on this account as long as you want until you're satisfied. And so this is why I have mine turned off, because if we go into my LinkedIn leads now, you will see that I literally have like 6,000 leads. Like, it's outrageous, guys. Like, if we see here, I have 40 pages at the bottom here worth of leads. I don't know if, yeah, you guys can see that. So 40 pages, right? A lot of, yeah, we have 2,000 leads sitting here. And I think it goes even further, but maybe it's limited by that. But anyway, so 2,000 leads divided by 30 requests a day. And we're sitting at 2 months worth of agents work. And so now we know that the agent has the necessary leads and the data that the agent needs to make the next call. And so if we go into this build, we can see that, okay, the agent scrape has been done. If you follow exactly what I just showed you, it'll work, and we can just check that off. And so we'll just go quickly check that off, and we'll move on to this next step, which is actually directly passing this information to the next agent through Phantom Buster itself. And so if we go into Phantom Buster and we go back to the dashboard, we can now activate our second agent. And so what you're going to be looking for is the connection and message agent. And in this case, we already have it in here, and it uses Sales Navigator and LinkedIn. But in my case, I only have LinkedIn, and it works perfectly. So once you have that going, you're just going to go into setup. And the beautiful thing about the way Phantom Buster is set up is that you can grab the leads from that first agent run, put them into a list, and then click that list to be used for this next agent run. And so here we've already fed it with all of the leads. We have the account already connected, and now we can start building our customized message. And all of these different fields are the fields that were scraped from the initial lead scrape. And so we get the company, the job, the about, job description, skills. And so this is just a very low level example, but you can literally customize this message to whatever you want. And the only thing to keep in mind is that for the free plan, you get 200 characters, and for the premium plan, you get 300 characters. So if you are looking for the personalized message part, I would then recommend going to premium. But if you just want to send the connection requests, you can stay on the free plan on LinkedIn. Once you have your customized message though, you can go ahead and continue. You can also set up follow-up messages if that was something that you were interested in after your connection gets accepted, which is definitely something I would recommend, because you want to follow up with these people if they're not responding. And when they do respond, then you can take over manually. Now, lastly, guys, LinkedIn lets you send up to 100 invites per week. If you're running this on your personal account, I would recommend not going over that amount. If you're running it on a Phantom AI account, then you can obviously just test the waters and see what happens. But for this personal account, we're going to keep it at 20, and the invites are going to just happen randomly throughout the week, so nothing gets flagged, or so the likelihood of something getting flagged is not as high. Now, as you guys can see, once that baby's running, it just goes. And right now we have a Phantom running, and that is basically all you need to do on the Phantom Buster UI. And now we can actually start building the UI on Replit and building out the automations on Make so that the agent on Replit can understand everything that's going on. So first, let's go back into the Google Docs. Let's get rid of this because it has now been passed directly to the next Phantom Buster and it's already running. Now, the next thing we want to do, guys, is set up the connection request agent. Now, we already have this automation set up, so the first thing I'm going to do is show you the automation, and then we're going to build it together. So here we are in Make, and we have this webhook automation, and I just want to explain what it does first. I'll then explain how, and then we'll go ahead and build it. So the Replit MCP server sends a request to this webhook that says get clients, and then it runs the output. And this output uses the Phantom ID of the connection agent that we've been using. We then pass that to ChatGPT because if we look at this outputted response, it's very, very messy. But in the outputted response, we can see that 35 invitations have been sent in total, 20 invitations have been sent today, and no profiles have accepted your request. And so for our MCP server to fully understand this data, I like to structure it a little bit better. And so what we do first is we send it to chat to just reformat it in a nice JSON object. And then from there, we actually parse the JSON one more time. So now that we have all of that set up, guys, we can go into Replit and we're just going to build out the UI, because the way that this thing sells for tens of thousands of dollars, potentially even hundreds of thousands, is one, the actual output and productivity of the agent, but two, the experience for your clients. Imagine delivering an end-to-end automation that looks like absolute garbage. Like UI just looks like really confusing for a normal businessman that is not tech savvy versus looking at Lynn's Bakery AI that is just an absolutely beautiful dashboard. And so that's why I'm building it in this way, because the clients absolutely love it. It's not just that these agents are autonomous and powerful. It actually makes the clients feel good that they're getting something extremely valuable when they see the UI. So what we're going to write in this prompt here, guys, is I am building an AI agent team. The first AI agent is a LinkedIn outreach for my No Code Academy. This agent has a webhook that we can ping once a day to see what the KPIs of that agent is for the day. We are going to do this by using an MCP model context protocol server, and this webhook will be one of the tools that the server access to. In the future, you can add more KPIs like booked calls, because once the connection request gets accepted, then you manually can go in and send that lead that you connected to an upsell or whatever, and whatever thing you're selling. And if that sale goes through, then you can start tracking that as a sale that originated from this agent. And in that way, you can actually track the genuine value of this agent's workflow. And we'll send that in. So now that we see this UI being built out, we can go back to our build out progression. We can see that the setup connection request agent, we can see that we have properly set up the connection request agent on Make, and we've successfully launched it, and we've successfully built our webhook. Now, the last thing we need to do is send that webhook to Replit so that it can get the information from that webhook and store it in the database. From there, guys, this agent is essentially completely finished with a nice UI that we can just fine tune and optimize, which we can talk about when we get there. And one thing I really wanted to talk to you guys about is like, this agent is one of those types that you can just give to a client up front for a fee, and that will really warm them up because it's already working for me, right? And if I was a client looking for this type of workflow and someone literally just delivered it and it was already starting to work, I would be so much more open to paying that client a gross amount of money to continue to build for me. And so it's not going to cost you much out of pocket to build and deploy this thing and hand it out to clients. And so not only is it going to be working for you on your personal brand, but then you can use this as a selling point. You can say, hey, look at how many connections I was able to generate on LinkedIn by using this agent, and I want you to copy me. Or look how much sales, or look how many leads, or look how many booked appointments. These are all the marketing angles that you can take using just this one agent to sell to B2B, B2C, or even something that we want to talk about a little bit down the road is B2E, or selling to basically very, very high paid professionals in any industry. So like high paying lawyers, doctors, financial people, tax people, like everywhere in the world. And I think that's what's really going to crush, because these internal agents is what I see as being the absolute next boom. And this LinkedIn agent is just crushing it for me right now. And so actually, while this is cooking, I can actually show you guys the results of it on LinkedIn. And so yeah, if we go into my network, it looks like we got another, so we got another connection just now. And so if we go into message, there should be a message that was already sent. And so if we go into like our connection with Eric, for example, which was through this workflow, we can see that it says, hey, Eric, I saw you're in the digital marketing and social content game over at Inventronics, which is his company, which is the company that he's the head of marketing for. And then I run an academy of 1,200 members, blah, 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 blah. And so on the back end of Phantom Buster is how we want it to look on the Replit as well. And so this is where the performance progress and message sequence can be stored and tracked. And so we can see that one request has been accepted. So our invite sent to invite accepted percentage is now at 3%. And so that's cool. The other cool thing that it's tracking is the accepted message to answer rate, which is something I didn't know even existed. So we can go back to our presentation and we can actually add that to the database architecture. And actually, I don't even know if we talked about the database architecture, so let's talk about that as well. No one has shown it to you in the way that I'm going to show it to you, and that's through a operator agent or a COO that is going to be done on the model context protocol server. But in today's video, we're just building out the LinkedIn AI agent that's fully autonomous. And so inside of this table, we're going to be storing the total connections sent, total connections sent today, total connections accepted, and then like I was saying, other KPIs down the road could be booked calls or connections that were converted into paying clients. But another one can be the message open rate. And so we're quickly building a nice analytic page that we're going to be able to show to our clients just based off of what we're learning on the fly. All right, guys, so the Replit agent finished out the first build out or the UI of the app. And so now we're going to give it the webhook so it can actually call that request and gets the results from our agent. And so what we're going to do, guys, is we're actually going to split this up into 2 tabs so you guys can see everything that's going on. Okay, awesome. So we have the webhook automation on the left-hand side. What we're going to do is we're going to copy that webhook address, and we're going to head back to the agent chat, and we're going to say the dashboard looks great. Now we need to call this webhook to get the genuine agent performance. Now, one thing I want to tease before sending this in is how the Neon database actually acts as brains for every single agent. And so this is the LinkedIn agent. And so the things that the agent has to keep track of are the stats that we're going to be sending through this webhook. But then imagine we have the Instagram agent, right? And so this Instagram agent needs to have a whole nother brain. It needs to see who's engaging with our page, who have we messaged, who is a fan of our store or whatever. And we can do a whole nother workflow by using the database as the brain as well, because the MCP server can use tools and it can use the database as reference when making any type of call or function call. So this message is long enough for me to now say, implement this, and I will test to see if the webhook triggers, and we'll just send that in. Now, on the left-hand side, we're going to click save, and we're just going to have this baby running and ready to go whenever the right-hand side finishes it up. Okay, guys, so the update that we got back here says that the agent has created the database for us. If we go in there, we can see that no tables have been made yet, but we have the database set up, and that's awesome. Now, the issue is the page is just in a permanent loading state, so we're just going to fix that, and then we'll test the actual API, the actual webhook call first. So I'm going to screenshot that loading sign. I'm going to put it into the agent chat. I'm going to say, okay, great. I can see that the DB is now set up. Let's fix this permanent loading sign, and then I will test the webhook call. Now, another update that came through the Replit agent recently is that you don't have to screenshot things anymore to show the agent. You could just use this select button, and it just allows you to select any type of element that you want. And I just had to get used to that because by habit, I'm just screenshotting because of how long I've been doing this vibe coding stuff. Okay, guys, the permanent loading sign is gone, and we're on the LinkedIn outreach page. And everything that we're seeing here is fake data, but here we have the actual LinkedIn agent webhook trigger. And so we're going to click this, and the left-hand side should then start the agent flow. So let's see what happens here. So we got an error. We're just going to screenshot that really quick, send it to the agent. I'm going to also open up the console, and we can see that it's just hammering requests here. And so that's also an issue. So we're going to also let that know. All right, guys, I made one little mistake. I made the first webhook as a custom mail hook instead of a custom webhook. That is my fault, and that's why we got these errors. So it's now a custom webhook, and we just have to let the agent know. I'm going to say, we're going to pause the agent's flow, and I'm going to say, I accidentally sent you the wrong link to trigger the webhook. There we go. Okay, so it's calling the webhook, and on the left-hand side, we can see it running. Now we're gonna pull up the console on the right-hand side just to see if we get the results. And so we see that it fired through, and the right-hand side seems to have gotten the results right here in this console. We can see that it says invited blah, blah, blah. And so really quick, we wanna just look at the response here in the body, and we can see, you know, the body looks great. It's nice and formatted. Interesting. Let me just think about what we need to say next. All right. So I'm going to say, awesome. The webhook call now works. Now, by looking at the console, can you identify the body response structure? All right, awesome. So I'm really happy that that worked. Now, eventually we're going to have to let the MCP server just trigger this whenever we want. So probably like once a day or twice a day, like once in the morning, once in the evening, just so that we can get these KPI results without having to actually ask the agent to check. So at the beginning of this video, guys, you saw that the 35 invitations were sent, but 0 profiles have accepted the request. And now with this newest get request response, we can see that the 1 profile that has been accepted is actually coming back in this response too. And so we can show the graph of 35 invitations to one accepted request as a percentage that the user sees on the front end. Okay, so the newest update now says that the rows 14 or line 14, 15, 19, and 20 in the response is what's going to get stored in the database. And the reason why we only want to store those is because that's where the relevant information lies. That's where the 35 invitations in row 19, the profile request accepted in 20, and row 15 tells us that we're already done our invitations for today, and row 16 tells us that there's no more to be done for the time being for the rest of this evening. Now that it says for us to test it again, what this should do is it should store these rows in the database once the automation gets its response. And so when this thing is triggered to say immediately as data arrives, it'll always do this agent flow. But since we're testing, we just want to click this purple button so we can actually see whether or not this response gets stored so we can track it. And so we're going to just activate the webhook here. And we're going to go down here and we're going to trigger one more time. And so once again, the left side is triggering off. And sometimes the ChatGPT module can kind of like lag out and glitch out, especially when you're running it like this because it's for testing purposes. And so if this doesn't work, there's no actual error. We'll just try it again. It's just lagging out or timing out. And so we can see in the history that this automation actually did finish. Like it completed 7 seconds ago. It's just that like on the UI, for whatever reason on Make, sometimes it just doesn't show us that result. But if we go into this output here, we can once again see that, it got the data from the request. Now we need to see if in the database, it actually stored that information. And so we're opening up the tables. We see that there's actually no tables that have been built. And so we're going to have to let the agent know that we need to build out these tables to store the information. And so we're going to say, okay, the webhook body response is coming back, but there is no data stored in the DB because there are no tables currently built. And so if you're new to Replit, like what it's doing right now is literally just creating the actual tables in the database. Like that's what we love about vibe coding, is that we're at a point where it's integrated into databases to the point where it can literally just build the entire architecture. And that's why I show you guys the Canva, because you just need to understand how it's going to look in your brain. You don't actually have to understand the weeds of the database. And so when I was showing you guys like the actual like rough architecture, that is the level that you really need to understand, I think, to succeed. I don't think you have to go that much further at this point, but you just have to be very organized. And so while this update's firing through, you may be wondering, like, why is this more powerful than just a separate stack of agents that run on N8N separately? And first of all, you're going to have this all integrated into one UI. But second of all, the humans that are actually running these businesses also have a suite of internal tools that they use. And so in one app, you're going to be able to build out the AI agents that they use, but you can also build out the AI tools that they themselves are going to use. And so there's a difference there, but using this combination of Make, Replit, MCP, and the Neon database, you can put both of them together so you have agents as a service for a business while also incorporating tools so that they don't have to pay for software. So a quick example of an internal tool that you can build is like a Zoom type of software using an API that then cuts the costs of video calls from like $50 a month or $100 a month to like $1 a month. And that can happen with multiple different tool sets. Okay, awesome. So we're gonna just try this one more time. Now, when we're doing something that has to integrate databases and information that goes directly from the response to the database, you're going to probably get some errors. Okay, so that's what we're expecting here. But we're just going to trigger the agent, see what happens. So on the left-hand side, we're running. All right, so I did a little bit more prompting here with the agent, and now the output is phenomenal. So when the GPT agent creates the output, I told it to really look for the leads and the requests sent so that we can really just parse that data. And then when we sent it to the JSON parser, we can see here in the invite summary, it has all of the data we want, and it separated them by daily and total. So like on the day, we've already sent our total invitations, but in total, we're at 35. And so that's really awesome. The status, no more profiles to process today is great. We can send that right to the front end. And we can also paste in these download links that the user can actually use to see the entire spreadsheet of every outreach that we've done in the pipeline so far. And so with that output, we've just sent that to the webhook body to give it the entire invite summary. And then we told the agent to fix the table in the database so that it can store this new invite summary response. And so now while the agent's cooking, I refresh the database and we have the activities, and the most important thing is that we have the LinkedIn agent leads. And inside of there, we have the new tables that are the exact same as the invite summary response. And so now in theory, when we run it, it should be able to directly insert that response into this database every single time the agent wants to check this KPI. And dude, if you made it this far and you're not subscribed and you haven't liked, why do you hate me? I'm kidding. Let's get back to the video. Okay, guys, so after a little bit of trial and error, we've come to the final conclusion of how we want this webhook response to be. And it took a little bit of prompt engineering, prompt trial and error as well with the GPT model here. So if we open it up, we're still going to be using the 4.0 system, but I gave it the exact structure that I want it to be doing. And we're just going straight from this JSON output to the webhook. I tested it enough times, and now the output is the exact same every single time, so that the database knows exactly how to store the data. And so now that we have consistency in our AI agent, we are able to move on to the next step. When this update comes through, we're going to test it one last time to see if it actually is updating in the DB. And then we're good to go. Because then honestly, guys, then the fun part starts, and we just make the UI of the front end look really good and presentable for clients. And then we just let that baby run and let the connections start piling up. I mean, like I showed you guys, we already had a couple new connections based off of this funnel, and it's been a day. So once we optimize it as well, it's going to work for literally any business. Okay, so now it says that the database is going to store this information correctly. So we're gonna just try this one last time and see what happens. So fired through, said it triggered. Now let's go into the DB. Let's refresh, and still not there. So got to do some more trial and error, and we'll be back. All right, guys, hour has gone by and this thing is fully working. And I just want to explain a couple things before we move forward. So the GPT agent doesn't need the parse JSON step. That was my bad. But what you need to do is test the consistency of the output if you're building this by yourself, because the output needs to be so consistent that it just gets directly inserted to the DB. Eventually, when we implement the MCP server, I don't even think this will be relevant. But for this current step, I think this is exactly what was causing the long errors. And so now that we have this long string as a consistent output every single time, the database was finally able to understand how to store it. And so here we have like the daily sent, daily accepted, which should be changed to total accepted, max invitation sent, total accepted. Great. So it has all of the different stats and the CSV links for the user to download if they wanted to download it. And so what we have to work on now is the actual UI of it. And then we need to test the automation of it so that our COO agent can eventually call this webhook whenever it wants, AKA once a day, twice a day. But we're not at that step yet. The step they're at right now is just mapping the analytics that we're actually storing to the front end, so we show the actual stats. Like once you deliver this to your clients and they see that after one day, they're going to be absolutely shocked and they're going to ask for more agents. And so that's what we're going to do now. First thing we're going to do here, we're going to say SQL DB is storing the webhook response. Now we want to map that response to the LinkedIn outreach dashboard. The total invites sent card, which is this one here, my cursor's hovering over it, needs to map to the total sent column in the LinkedIn agent leads table. Let's work on mapping that field first. And we're going to take a little screenshot of it. All right, guys, so I have a lot of calls to get to actually run the No Code Academy today, and a lot of work to do to run my actual software. But we reached the first step of this process where we're now mapping in the actual endpoints that are in our database to the front end. And so as you guys saw in that quick update, we are now mapping in the total invites sent, the total invites accepted, the total invites processed today, and the success rate. And eventually we can make this UI look really, really nice. And the really cool thing about what we're building is that this is actually going to be my agent stack. And so we've already built out different agent stacks, like the one for our Delhi clients. Like I want to show you really quick once again. And so like this is the Delhi client, but what's really exciting about what we're doing in this video and this video series in general is that this is just the first agent of the entire stack, and you guys are seeing it from scratch, and you're getting the entire code base, so you can do this as well. And there's the literal entire world that you can sell this to on top of that. And like I was talking about earlier in this video, one of the concepts I also want to tease in a future video is going B2E, because the amount of high paying professionals that would absolutely kill for this type of agent and agent stack is a lot. I mean, there's literally billions of people that would kill for this. And so before we end this video, I want to now explain what you should be doing on Make once the agent's working. And so we've been testing it by triggering this automation, but eventually you're going to set up this Replit agent to automatically call this webhook. And so it would be immediately as data arrives. We just haven't gotten to that step yet. And so when we pick things up, I'm also going to show how you can do that and get this app to just trigger this webhook once a day, twice a day, as much as you want, and update the front end in real time. And then eventually we're going to get into text message updates. And so once this agent stack is completely built, you can imagine we have a LinkedIn, Instagram, phone, email, and we need a COO or operator agent to actually source all of that information. And so that is how this thing is going to extrapolate out. And once the COO gets that information, it'll get the KPIs from all of the different agents. And so it would get the it would get the text message from this agent saying that it sent 20 requests and that today we got 1 new accepted request. Imagine now that with Instagram and emails just saying their own different KPIs for whatever we're trying to achieve there. And then the COO would send us and the client a simple text message. And that would be the most game-changing flow, and that's what we're building in real time. Everything that you just saw is now available in the community, and I'll see you guys in the next iteration where we implement the next agent of the stack. And so I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.